I don't know if it's just because my helping hands can't get close enough to hold them together. It's one reason why I'm using a pair of tweezers. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Digital Paw Workshop. It is I, those wires that keep getting crossed that throw your breaker switch, Techno Meow Tinkerer. And today we're going to go back over turning a web. We're going to go not back over. I'm going to be redoing wiring a webcam I took out of a laptop to a USB port or to USB cable. Now, many people end up throwing laptops away or putting them away because the screen oftentimes gets busted. That's usually the number one cause I've seen with many laptops is usually busted screen. Except for me, one of mine is a USB port messed up, but I'm still a usable laptop. I actually the screen's gone bad. I just got to replace it. But that's usually the number one reason, and I just hadn't gotten around to buying the new screen and replacing it. But this webcam is actually from a laptop I bought from a junk store. And if you watch my introduction video, you know I mentioned that when I was moving stuff around my room, I end up pulling the webcam apart from the solder joints of the USB wire I wired it to, or solder it to. And I'm going to now go back and resolder it. Now, I got my welding station, or soldering iron here, that I'm going to be using. So it's
Warning, warning, do not follow this fool's examples. Always take proper safety precautions. Do not be in a rush to go to the hospital. Do not be in a rush for me to come visit you.
And as you can see, I got my Dollar Tree placemat. I know it ain't the one that you supposed to have for electronics, but I don't think I won't be working with anything that's that sensitive. And this is mainly to keep my work area clean. Of course, I got my welding station. The temperature, as you see, is 536 Fahrenheit or 280 Celsius. At the time of this video, I hadn't done much research from the last one I reviewed or looked at when I first got it. And I'm still learning some stuff. But one of the first things we want to do here is we're going to look for the ground. And one of the things you want to check for ground is something like this. I think it's a screw port. And so you want to make sure, now I got to get my helping hands out to help hold it. I wish I got to get better at doing this. I didn't realize how off screen I was when I was checking for the ground. But what you do, that little copper ring that looks like a screw hole, you put one into it and then you'll put the other end to one of the wires, and it has to on this is my dad's multimeter. It has to zero out, if I remember correctly. Yep, there we go, zero out to find out which one's ground. And hindsight being 2020, I replaced a USB wire on my USB switch, or a splitter that has toggle switches on it, to have a longer wire, and I could have used that instead of reusing this one. But this USB wire was one I got from the Dollar Tree, clipped in. Now I'm checking to make sure. I was pretty sure that the ground wire was on the same side as the plug, or the ground terminal, or the terminal in the plug, but I want to make sure, because getting the power wrong could cause problems. Since this is DC current, it means it's supposed to go one way. Now, if they have the proper, I want to say resistors, but I'm not sure if the resistor, but I do know there are certain things that you can only plug and allow current to go one direction. So if you were to miswire it, it might prevent things from being damaged. Didn't know. Now, one of the things here is trying to see these tiny little wires. I think there's a total of 6 wires in this not USB, but this webcam. And you had to find 4 of them, and I cut the other 2 that weren't needed when I originally did this down, so I would never mistaken or use them. But once you get the ground, then you can just find the power. Now I'm using electrical tape because I don't have any of those shrink tubing. Some of you probably saying want to use shrink tubing. I'm using what I have. I hadn't gone out and bought any. I priced them once, but I haven't gone out and bought any of those yet. And of course, the way I'm doing it did not work, so I had to redo the duct tape a different way. I think also this sorter connection didn't do too well, and it probably would have helped if I had did some research beforehand, but I was able to get everything to work in the end. But yeah, you don't want to get the powers messed backwards. Now, if you get the data reversed, it will just give you an error prompt on your PC. But one of the things one of the things I was checking for the power, which if I remember correctly was the red one. See, that's where I was talking about the. For some reason, my soldering, and I don't know if it's just because my helping hands can't get close enough to hold them together. It's one reason why I'm using a pair of tweezers to hold one while I'm pushing the other down onto the wire that has all the solder. I'm trying to get. I wonder if I tried that. If I tried a block of wood underneath something like this, where I can press everything down flat and then use the soldering iron to solder everything together. Again, hindsight is 50-50. 2020, in my case, is 50-50. Oh yeah, this time when I did, I just folded. Instead of trying to wrap, I just folded and just cut the excess off. I believe that gave me a secure thing. And of course, the reason why you want to keep the wire, and in my case electrical wire, not the little shrink tubes, is so that you don't have no crossing wires, and that can sort things out. But going back to when I was doing a little earlier looking for the hot wire, is you would check the wires out, and you usually want to find one of those little chips. One of the chips I tested had like 6 prongs, and on one side it will give you the connection, and the other side I don't think it does. And I think you have to be careful because I think the data can give you that, so you might get a misreading. But with the data ones, if you get them backwards, like I said earlier, all it does is you just get you an error, then you just have to desolder. And that's what happened with me. I wired the data because there's really, I don't know, I've not found a way where you can find out which data is the actual correct, because I think you're sending and you're receiving, and I'm trying to, I think what's it called, tinning the wire. These are tiny little wires. It probably would have helped if I had one of those camera magnifying glasses that they use. Because of the way I was recording, I really couldn't use my magnifying glass, and I'm wearing my glasses doing this, trying to see these things. Used to, I could see fine stuff. I used to write notes about a size 9 font when I was limited on cash and getting stuff. I actually would take a ruler and draw a second line in the middle of the lines of the notebook paper to create more lines so I could write more stuff on one page. That's when you're talking about you're strapped for cash. Out of focus. Now I don't. I'm gonna undo this. I don't think this is. Well, I don't think I had a good connection. But I think before I wrap these, I checked. Before you wrap the data, you want to check and make sure that you got them wired up correctly. And I checked, and I had to like I said, I had to do these now. I'm trying to remember. Was this? What happens when I'm talking and not paying attention? Nope, here, here I'm having to redo the wire. So, I haven't, and that's just where I found out, because I did I brought up that little webcam app that Windows 10 have and just plugged it in, and didn't work, so and gave the error message. So I swapped the wires around, plugged it back in, and it worked. Again, coating the wire to make sure with electrical tape so it don't well, the electrical tape hopefully holds it together, but at the same time keep it from crossing over and sorting things and getting signals mixed. Now I think for the overall one, I did wrap everything into one big piece. Yeah, I did. As you can see here, I took a picture of everything so you can kind of see what the finished product looks like. And as a bonus, this here is the it's a splitter with toggle switches is basically what it is, and the cord that came with it is just just too short. I don't know where I picked this up at, but the back just simply snaps off, or the bottom I should say, and I just want to swap the cord out with a longer cord, and I just grabbed one of the USB cord. I actually had two USB cords, and they had the I think it's the micro. I don't think it's the mini USB port on one end. I don't really have nothing that needs that, so I just cut that in off and strip the wires. And like I said, I don't have nothing that really, I don't have no use for having those, or at least I could probably keep one just as a backup because I ever need it, but I've chose to strip one of those off. Now I will be a little forthcoming here. I was nervous doing this. I'm used to soldering and taking things off that are of boards that are no longer of any electronics good, not something I'm planning on ever reusing a board again. I was worried, since I'm working directly with a board and not a wire. It's one thing working with wire, but working directly with a board, I was worried about messing something up, putting too much solder on the board and end up crossing the traces. I think that's what they're called, the little metal lines that carry the current. And so that was one little thing I was nervous about, because this is my first time soldering on a board that I'm planning to actually use for something. And the main thing is I just had to remember the color code, because if I remember correctly, a lot of the USBs have a certain color code for the wire, and I just had to remember what colors went where. And of course, I'm reusing the cap from the phone when I filled my door up with phone video for soundproofing the door. I held onto the cap because caps can come in handy. In this case, I'm using it for a trash can for the soldering I'm taking off. Now, I don't know because whether I didn't have my little desoldering iron plugged up long enough that it didn't get hot enough. But I had to switch. I was switching around trying to figure out what to try to get the solder off as fast as possible. And one of the things I am worried about, because I've heard at some electronics you can't have too much heat with. Oh yeah, now this is where I use the flux. My dad gave me a tube of his flux, on his old flux, and this is the first time I ever used flux. So I was wasn't sure, when I was surprised how fast it helped speed up the heating process for the solder joints. But I still was having a bit of an issue trying to get it off. And like I said, over the webcam part, hindsight being 20/20, although mine it might be 50/50 or 10/10 or something like that. I could have used this wire instead of the old one, because this actually has a bit more length to it than that little USB blue one I got from the Dollar Tree that I was using. I'm trying to remember why I cut it. I think I cut it in half instead of, because I think what it was is I was worried about the weight of the wire pulling the joints apart. And like I said, the only way I'm going to learn how to solder is I got to keep practicing, keep doing stuff. You can see some of the holes, they look kind of open. I'm trying to see. But yet I got like one that just did not want to get clear. Now I'll use the tweezers to slightly pull, not try to pull too hard, but to pull and see if the wire will come out. Well, especially right here when I use the soldering iron just to heat it up, get at least the wire out the way, then I can work on trying to clean out the holes. I don't know if I could use flux. Now I kind of know why I bought this kind of, was it years ago or a few years back? I'm trying to remember when I bought this set of helping hands. I think it was a few years back I bought it. Yeah, I did, because when I originally did the webcam wiring my first time around, I didn't have this, and it would have come in handy for doing that, because trying to makeshift one using a pair of needle nose and pliers and rubber bands to hold stuff in place while you solder is a bit tricky. I was redneck engineering at the time. Yeah, tin my wires. I was trying to see if I can get the wires to go through all at one time when I did this, and it just wouldn't work, so I think I did a few at a time. Yeah, use the tweezers to pull, make sure that they come through. Like I said, I was having trouble trying to get them all through at the same time, so I could just solder, but it didn't want to work out that way. I think some of the wires kept wanting to fall out. And this is part of why, and going back to these helping hands, this is part of why I've seen some people use those other ones that are long, that have all the joints, because you can get things closer. Give myself a little bit more light so I could see what I'm doing here. And again, I gotta figure out a way to do this top-down recording so I can actually make sure I'm in frame, because where my phone is at is actually above my head. And that's on the tripod. I kind of need a boom for that mount, so I can have it more centered, so I don't have to have it quite so high to get the table. I can have it, but I have to have it high enough so I can kind of get my whole workspace in there. I probably should have put the tripod on the opposite side of the table instead of beside me. I need to look and see if that would make a difference. I'll be honest, sometimes with some projects it feels like it would be nice if you could actually have 2 extra hands, 2 extra arms. I know that you got, going back to these helping hands, but I'm talking about just in regular day life. Yeah, because you know what, it's like when you're trying to bring stuff in, your hands are full, but you need to open the door. Oh, there's that blue light. That's showing I have power. Oh yeah, I need to put some electrical tape. The wires were a little too exposed on the end. I put some electrical tape to kind of cover them, and also to add for a little bit more thickness for the holes so that it would clamp down when I put it back together, clamp down on the wiring so it won't be able to pull or tug, because the original one had that little stopper type thing. Yeah, we want a little bit of more pressure, want a little pressure, trying to make it look a bit nicer. And that's pretty much the video. Well, I hope this provided some useful information for someone out there, as I'm still learning myself on how to do this sort of stuff. But basically, we just saw how to wire a webcam from a laptop up so you can plug in and use. And that was the very first webcam I ever had, was the one I took from that laptop and wired to a USB plug. And how to swap out a wire on a USB device. If you enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe, and share it with anybody you think might find this video interesting or useful. Have a nice day.
Yeah.